Hi, this is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World, your English teacher here to help you with your fluency. In fact, if you want to follow my videos and make sure you're always told when I'm putting a new one on, please subscribe here. So today's topic is about how to ask polite questions. Now, polite questions are usually not direct questions, such as, where is the church, if you're a tourist, but generally they're questions where you have a preamble and where you ask, excuse me, could you tell me where, or would you be able to tell me if, and so on. And these make the question a little more complicated. So let me share with you now a document that will help you to visualize and therefore understand it. Okay, here is the document. So if you look at this document, you'll see that I've written a normal question at the top, which is, how much does it cost? Now, this is a direct question. The answer, which is just below, is it costs £10. So the affirmative has the subject and then the verb, it costs £10. Now, when you put something in front to ask politely, to ask a polite question, you don't invert or form the question as you would do normally. You leave it as if it were an affirmative question, an affirmative sentence. So, as you can see in the example, I wonder how much it costs. So not, I wonder how much it does cost, or how much does it cost, or something like that. You forget the original question. You think of how you would just say the affirmative sentence, and you put in front of it whatever the form is. You could ask, could you tell me how much it costs? Do you know how much it costs? I wonder how much it costs. But it costs stays the same as if it were an affirmative sentence in which I say it costs £10. So let's have a look at another example, because this first example was in the third person. Now let's have a look at an example using do rather than does. So the question would be, where do I buy the tickets? And the affirmative answer would be, I buy the tickets from the machine over there. Now, if we want to ask an indirect question, which is being very polite, you could say, could you tell me where I buy the tickets? And if you observe, I buy the tickets is identical to the affirmative sentence, I buy the tickets from the machine over there. So we're just leaving it in exactly the same position. Could you tell me where I buy the tickets? Or do you know where I buy the tickets? I wonder where I buy the tickets. It always stays in the same position. Let's try with a modal verb this time, so with can. The question would be, how can I get to the airport? But you want to ask politely. So the affirmative sentence is, I can get to the airport by bus. And so you could ask, do you know how I can get to the airport? Or could you tell me how I can get to the airport? I wonder how I can get to the airport. These are various forms, but I can get to the airport stays in the same position. Now let's try with the verb to be. Where is the church? A classical question, but of course much too direct. The affirmative sentence is, the church is in the main square around the corner. So we leave that exactly as it stands and we ask, could you tell me where the church is, please? Or do you know where the church is, please? I wonder where the church is. So it's really not as complicated as it seems if you bear in mind what the affirmative sentence would be. Now, you can use this in other tenses, of course. An example here is with the simple past. When did the film start? Sorry. You get to the cinema, you've missed the beginning of the film, you're wondering whether to buy the ticket or not, depending on how long the film has been running. And so you ask, when did the film start? The film started half an hour ago. Now, if you observe, we've got the past of start. The film started. And we have to maintain that, just as we had to maintain the S in the third person above. So the film started half an hour ago. And so, could you tell me when the film started? Do you know when the film started? I wonder when the film started. So these are, ways of simplifying and trying to explain to you how easy it is to form an indirect sentence, an indirect question, because it's not as complicated as it seems. I would like to point out, though, that it's very important to remember that you have to respect the format of the affirmative sentence. So in how much does it cost, we have does it cost. As soon as you make it into an affirmative, you're adding the S to the verb and you're saying it costs. And so also in the indirect question, it's I wonder how much it costs. Just as in the simple past, the question was, when did the film start? Did indicating the simple past. And then the film started half an hour ago. So as a consequence, could you tell me when the film started? Okay, so this is the basics. These are the basics, I would say. Now, another few examples, because I've given them to you very simply, but there are more complicated ways of forming polite questions. For example, instead of saying, could you tell me or do you know, you could also say, could you let me know what time the train to Oxford leaves? So could you let me know is a bit more long-winded, but you can say that too. Or would you mind telling me is another way of making it a little bit more complicated. Could you please tell me if there's a chemist near here? So that's another way of asking a question. There are a few forms which are slightly different from what I had explained there, but yes, let me give you an example. So do you know how far it is to the British Museum? Now, there isn't an affirmative how far it is. So we would say it's 1 kilometer or to the British Museum. So in this case, how far it is a structure that we have to learn apart. Do you know how far it is to the British Museum? Because we want to know the distance. Or instead of saying yes, that you want to get to Trafalgar Square, as we had done in the previous example, how to get to the to Trafalgar Square, you could actually use the expression the way to, which isn't a verb. Would you mind telling me the way to Trafalgar Square instead of would you mind telling me how to get to Trafalgar Square? So that's an exception in which we don't use a verb. Well, I don't think there's anything else I can say to that. I would like you to check out my further videos on my YouTube channel, and perhaps try and download in the, there's a link in the description below, some of my free fluency exercises, because if you do find them useful, you could check out my page on my website or contact me, because I have some more premium courses that you could see and hopefully find useful if you want something a little more specific. Otherwise, I'll leave you for today and hope this was very useful for you. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Look forward to you. Bye. Goodbye.